A Bahraini woman has died of gunshot wounds to her head. She disappeared in the capital Manama during the regime's crackdown on protests on Wednesday. Bahrain's main opposition group Al-Wafaq says Bahia al-Aradi's funeral will be held on Tuesday. Her death brings the death toll from the government's suppression of popular protests to 16. Al-Wafaq says almost 100 people are still missing. In the past few weeks, funerals for the slain protesters have triggered even more anti-regime protests. Meanwhile, workers in the Persian Gulf state have launched a wave of strikes. Reports say some 70% of workers have walked out of their jobs, but the regime forces backed by troops from several Persian Gulf countries have intensified their attacks on opposition figures and human rights activists. Reports say they attacked the office of the Islamic Action Association in the village of Bani Jamra. The leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, says Iran has always supported oppressed nations and opposed tyrants and dictators.
از همه پشتیبانی کردیم. ما 32 ساله که از مردم فلسطین داریم پشتیبانی میکنیم. کدومی که از کشورها، دولتها، ملتها در این 32 سال این پشتیبانی رو کردن؟ مگر ملت فلسطین شیعه‌اند؟
Ayatollah Khamenei said the United States is trying to instill the idea that the current crisis in Bahrain stems from a sectarian strife in order to prevent any aid to the oppressed people of Bahrain.
مسئله بحرین جنگ بین شیعه و سنی است. چه جنگ بین شیعه و سنی؟ آمریکایی‌ها خوشحالند که بتوانند به وسیله بوق‌های تبلیغاتی خودشون در منطقه مسئله بحرین رو به عنوان مسئله اختلاف بین شیعه و سنی جا بزنند.
The leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution also condemned the U.S. double standards towards the situation in Bahrain. He said Washington accuses Tehran of interfering in the country's affairs because Iranian religious authorities condemn the killing of people in Bahrain. But it remains silent when foreign military forces are deployed there to help suppress anti-government protesters. Ayatollah Khamenei also said Saudi Arabia's military intervention in Bahrain was a mistake. He said the move will do harm to Saudi Arabia and arouse animosity towards the country in the region. Ayatollah Khamenei denounced the U.S. claims of defending the nation's rights as a lie and said Washington is instead cooperating with the dictators.
I am very pleased to welcome Minister Gaddafi here to the State Department.
He also rejected claims that foreign military intervention in Libya is aimed at protecting civilians and said the West is after Libya's oil and wants to use the country as a base to keep an eye on future governments in Egypt and Tunisia. Ayatollah Khamenei described a wave of Islamic awakening as the driving force behind the revolutions in Egypt, Tunisia, Yemen, Libya and Bahrain. He said people in those countries protest because their dignity has been tarnished by their own rulers. Iran's leader also said the uprisings in the Muslim world will be victorious and that the U.S. will suffer defeat in the region.
به توفیق الهی، به حول و قوه الهی، سلسله شکست‌های آمریکا در این منطقه ادامه پیدا خواهد کرد.